Okay, so how can the Yankees win this offseason, right? That's the big question. To me, the Phillies right now have the championship belt. I'll try to get a little bit of sun glare so you can see my whole face here. The championship belt for me, they've already brought in Trey Turner. They brought in Matt Strahm for the bullpen, and they brought in Taijuan Walker for the starting rotation. To me, they're holding the championship belt right now. Okay, we'll just say the WWE belt. And they've done a lot. And they remind me of the Dodgers before this year. You know, they would make a big move every offseason, whether it be a trade or a signing, because they've been doing that for the past several years, the Phillies, and I think they're going to continue to do it, and especially under Dave Dombrowski, who they just extended through 2027. So I think they're going to continue to do that. And good for them. Really, good for them. I mean, they're 2 games away from winning the World Series. So, and this is the type of stuff, and I think the Dodgers, personally, are going to be trying to reset. I think they're going to maybe make some trades rather than expensive outlays in free agency. And the main reason why is I think they're going to load up for a big run at Shohei Ohtani the next offseason. I don't think he's a fit for the Yankees. I don't think the Yankees is going to happen here. So I'm not even wasting my time there. If they got him, would I complain? No. But I think it's a waste of time. I think he's going to go to the Dodgers. But we'll see what happens there, okay? But now, I mean, let's talk about how did the Yankees win this offseason? Okay, because I still think they can win this offseason. What have they done already? They brought in Aaron Judge, brought back Judge. They brought back Anthony Rizzo. They've also brought in Junior Fernandez for the bullpen, and they brought in Tommy Kahnle for the bullpen. They've already spent $400 million, and they haven't gotten better yet. Okay, they're still behind the Astros, and so behind the Phillies too. And it just is what it is. And whether people like it or not, whether I like it or not, they're not better yet. There's still so many holes to fill, okay? So I'm focusing on 3 positions, and again, left field, starting pitching, and a bullpen. I'm not even including yet the shortstop / third baseman. We have a boatload of prospects that can fill these positions. We have guys here already, and until they honestly move Josh Donaldson, it's going to create a logjam. So, but we'll get to that too. So, and by the way, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Don't leave without doing it if you haven't done that yet, because we're going to talk about how, and when they start filming, because there's a lot of speculation right now. The Yankees are working on something big, right, and all this stuff. And we keep hearing it from Buster Olney, and people are riding with it everywhere. They're going nuts now on Twitter and YouTube and everywhere else. And what I want to know is if it's real or if it's completely baloney or speculation, okay, to drive up the prices and blah, 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 or just to get people views or whatever it is. I don't know. But Buster Olney, generally, is one of the more reputable sports writers, and now Michael Kay started talking about it too. So it's attention worthy in my decision. I mean, in my opinion. But again, it doesn't have teeth yet. Like I said yesterday, I want to wait until the event. I want to see more people talking about it. More. I want to see Rosenthal. I want to see Jeff Passan. Like, some of those folks. I mean, John Heyman is. I'm not really relying on him right now. So I think he's shown he can be unreliable when it comes to putting stuff like that. After he put out that Aaron Judge tweet of the year, he was heading to the Giants, so he's going to get noogies for a long time. But it is what it is. But again, let's focus on his positions right now. Carlos Rodon, okay? They need him. Garrett Cole needs a 1B. He's ripe for the taking, okay? That's piece 1 for me. Okay, I'm going 3 pieces here. I'm not even including the one guy that so many people are talking about, and we'll get to him in a second too. To me, second one, Brian Reynolds, left field. In a trade. I understand there's the folks now that are starting to talk about a couple of Arizona Diamondbacks outfielders. Okay, I get it. Darren Varsho, Jake McCarthy, and blah, blah, blah. They're young. They're controllable. They're going to cost just as much as Brian Reynolds would because they have a lot more controllable years than Brian Reynolds, and I get it. But again, they're far from their prime. And now if they get them and they're great, great. Okay, the reason why I lean towards Brian Reynolds, who I've been talking about for a long time, is that he's approaching his prime right now. He's a switch hitter. He fits the profile of what the Yankees need, okay? And a guy who's going to help other guys in their prime or approaching the back end of their prime soon to capitalize on that, okay? I understand that a nice 22-year-old outfielder who hits with a little bit of power, but we're getting so many sample sizes here of these guys. But again, controllable till 28, 29, that's fantastic. Okay, if you can get it, get it. But Brian Reynolds, to me, represents what the Yankees need right now. Okay, you want to take advantage of this window, this championship window, he's the guy to get. And he's also got 3 years of control. He's 27. He's a switch hitter. Okay, he's a good defender. He plays center field, but he can move to the corners. Okay, which the Yankees would need because they've got defensive whiz Harrison Bader out there and a postseason hero Harrison Bader in center field. And now they got Judge back in the fold in right. So Bryan Reynolds to me represents option 1. And if you got Reynolds and Rodon, that would be huge offseason for the Yankees. And if you bring in a bullpen guy, because they've already made it clear they're looking for another reliever, well, you got a guy like Andrew Chafin in free agency who's not going to cost a ton. Or you got a guy like Gregory Soto, who I think the Yankees can trade for. That's what Gleyber Torres is for. I'd rather trade him to the Detroit Tigers if we can for Soto than getting what's his name, Pablo Lopez from the Miami Marlins. I don't see the point in trading him for a number 3 pitcher or number 4. I'd rather get a top-end reliever who could potentially be a closer here. From the left-handed side, it throws hard. He's got a good arsenal of stuff, and he's got, I think, 3 or 4 years of control as well, too. That's the type of guy we would trade Gleyber Torres for. Okay? But, and again, he can also be used as well as some other guys for a prospect package if the Yankees strike out on Rodon. And see, the problem here with Rodon, and let's tie him into Carlos Correa now, because they're talking about there's so many pictures of Yankees working on something big, and Correa's all over these things. And there's people like, oh, is it Correa? We don't know. But the fact is, I mean, okay, let's see Correa he's angling for a 10-year deal. He opted out, at least a 10-year deal. If Xander Boegarts can get an 11-year, $280 million deal, Correa's going to get more than that. He's 2 years younger, and he's better than Boegarts. So he's going to get 300 plus. And we'll keep in mind, Carlos Correa and Carlos Rodon have one similarity. They are repped by the same guy, Scott Boras. He owns both of them. 2 gigantic Yankee targets. And I think, in my opinion, that Scott Boras is right now holding up the free agent market because he's trying to extract that 7th year from Rodon, which he very likely will get. The Yankees are at 5 right now. They're showing resistance to go above 5 years. They're going to have to go at least 6 to get him. They gave 7 years to Sabathia at 29. Rodon's 29. They're going to have to give at least 6 years to him. And he's got a little bit more of an injury history than Sabathia, but I don't think anybody's going to get him for under 6 years. But this is what Boras does. Right? He finds a guy to either give more dollars, and let's just say Rodon gets an opt-out after 2 years or whatever, fine. Or somebody to have a drastic overpay and give a 7th year where he's $200+ million for freaking Carlos Rodon. Okay? This is what he's best at. That's why people want to be repped by him. And he's going to do the same thing for Correa. He's going to get massive overpays. And again, the Yankees have already spent $400 million. Could you imagine bringing both those guys on there? They'll be up to $1 billion. $1 billion! I mean, the Yankees can do it, but that's a boatload of money. So, not including Reynolds or a reliever. So, but again, that's why I guess I keep saying Bryan Reynolds, because it makes him easier to afford somebody like Correa or Rodon or whatever the Yankees decide to do. Okay, and they've made it clear that there's money to spend. We don't know how much, but I'm sure they're going to test it, and I'm sure Boras is going to try to extract as many pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters and dollars out of them as possible. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind. But to me, the Yankees win the offseason. If they get Reynolds and Rodon, and they're deep in talks to both, they get both of them. Okay, and they get a reliever, they win the offseason. I'm not even including Correa in this puzzle right now, at least, because I want to see a little bit more. It's a little bit more teeth as to a story on Correa. The Yankees are deep in discussions with Correa and blah, 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 and how they're going to do it. They might have to eat Donaldson's contract. They may package him to, I don't know, somewhere and attach a big prospect and need a boatload of money. There's also speculation about moving Aaron Hicks and blah, blah, blah. But until they do it, it's all spec. All spec, okay? It's all just it's all chatter. So, I mean, if they bring in Correa, if they bring in Rodon, and they bring in Ryan Reynolds, they're going to be above they're already at almost 270 without these guys. You bring in Correa, you're at 300. You bring in Rodon, you're at 330. They're going to be, $340 million payroll? That's the Steve Cohen on steroids tax threshold. And again, they're not repeat offenders, the Yankees, so they haven't hit that threshold yet. Where Cohen is paying the penalties he's paying, and it sounds like he's going to approach that threshold again for a second year. The Yankees would be at that level for the first time, but it would still pay massive penalties. And even though they've got 60 or 70 million plus coming off the books, which would take them back below it, you go to 340, you take 70 off, you're going down to 270, so where they are now. So they're still paying lots of penalties. So that stuff has to be factored in as well. So to me, how they can win the offseason realistically is Reynolds, Rodon, and a reliever. It would take them up to probably 300. And if they're able to move a couple guys, Torres or Donaldson or whatever heck, it'll bring it back down maybe to 280s or whatever. And that would be a little bit more probably palatable number for Hal Steinbrenner. I don't think Hal Steinbrenner wants to go above 300 unless he proves otherwise. So, but how do they do it? In my opinion, that's how they do it. You get your outfielder, controllable years. Okay? Reynolds. Let's just say Reynolds. And Rodon, you got your 1B. And then you have another reliever there on the left-hand side to complement what you got. And we use what we have. Peraza short. And again, like I said, I think they can get Brian Reynolds without having to give up Oswald Peraza. You're going to have to give up a lot of stuff. No doubt about it. So, but we'll see what happens there. But that's me, my road to winning this offseason. Give me your feedback in the comments, okay? Load them up. Let me know what you think. Let's just say 3 moves or 4 moves the Yankees can win the offseason. Like, realistically, how can they win this? And how could they make it work? Does anybody see the Yankees with a $330 plus $million payroll? Does anybody see them getting Correa and Rodon? Like, again, if the math is, they could afford it, but, like, are they going to have the balls to do it? We'd be shocked. I'd be shocked. I'd give them a round of applause, 3 of them. And, but you're talking big time. And again, that's how the Yankees can win the offseason. That's also how they could steal the headlines, by getting all that stuff. And that's a lot of stuff. That's reminiscent of 2009. They got Sabathia, Burnett, Teixeira, Nick Swisher. Like, they got Damaso Marte. They got a boatload of guys that offseason. And again, they could do it again. They won the World Series, too. So if they won the World Series and had that outlay, all be forgiven. I mean, Hal will be able to show his face again in Yankee Stadium. So probably without being booed. If he did all that stuff, he'd probably get cheered. I'd be surprised, but he'd probably get cheered. So anyway, give me your feedback. Let's talk about it. I'll put out anything else that comes out. You know that. And have a great day, everybody. Be safe, and I'll talk to you next time.